Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Matt Wilson alongside Jacob Hedges and Cody Hammonds. Today on deck we'll be discussing the recent moves during the NFL offseason free agency. We also have an interview with Coach Preston Spradlin of the Morehead State men's basketball team. It's all being discussed right here on the GamePlan.
We have seen quite a few moves happen during the free agency window this offseason. What has been the biggest change so far?
Well, personally, I'd like to start off and mention Carson Wentz and his whole situation. He signed a 4-year contract extension with the Eagles worth $128 million, with $107 million guaranteed. And by the end of the season, they traded him to the Colts. You can look at reasons for why it happened, whether that was the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts and then benched Wentz halfway through the season after going 3-8-1. Or you could just say maybe it was time for both parties to move on. Regardless, I think Wentz going to the Indianapolis Colts is a huge move for the Colts, considering they went to the playoffs last season. They narrowly missed out. They lost by 3 points to the Buffalo Bills. So I think adding a player like Wentz, if he can stay healthy, because that's the biggest issue with Wentz is he's been injured most of his career. I think that Indianapolis has got themselves a weapon and something that can actually take them and put them back to the status they were when Peyton Manning was quarterback for the Colts.
Yeah, well, you have to think as well. I mean, Wentz didn't have a lot of weapons at Philadelphia. I mean, whenever you look at Indianapolis, you have guys like Jonathan Taylor at running back. You have guys like T.Y. Hilton as your starting receiver, and then you have Paris Campbell on the come up as well. So, I mean, there's just so much to work with in that offense that Wentz is really going to have a field day with these guys, and not to mention that he's actually going to have an O-line to protect him and make sure that he's not sacked as much as he was at Philly. And another thing that I wanted to kind of address is the whole Matt Stafford situation. Going into his trade talks, I really thought that he should have went to a team like the Patriots to kind of give him a chance to really achieve greatness because, Bill Belichick's such a great coach. But I feel like being with Sean McVay in LA is going to give him a really good opportunity, a solid opportunity to kind of get the chance that he needs to go to the playoffs, for once and, just not be on the back burner in Detroit. So I'm very excited to see what happens to Matt Stafford in LA.
I think one of the biggest questions that's on everyone's mind right now is what is the undisputed greatest of all time quarterback going to do next season? Tom Brady, he's coming off his next ring. He's paired up with Gronk again. Gronk's going into his free agency. He's already quoted that he's unretired free agent. He's said he's coming back next season. So what are they going to do? I look for the Buccaneers to sign Tom Brady again. Normally when you got a guy that's 43, 44 years old, you're like, let him play one more season, then let him go. No big deal. But Tom Brady, I mean, everyone counts him out. He comes in, drops 34 points. I mean, he just absolutely destroys the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. So what should they do? The answer is they should sign him and give him another contract extension. And Gronk hasn't said he's going to stay there, but I think that he should. Could it shake up the season next year? Yes. Do I think they could go back-to-back? Absolutely. But only time will tell. So
this week, the GamePlan's Lauren Carter interviewed Preston Spradlin of the men's basketball team to talk about his recent success so far this season.
Given the chance, you want to be playing well going into postseason, and as opposed to coming off a loss, there's certainly motivation you could draw from that as well. But I think ask any coach or any team, do you want to be winning games going into your conference tournament? I think, yeah, obviously you do. You want to be playing well. You want to be playing with confidence because then it allows you to keep the guys loose, to keep it fun, and to let them just enjoy the moment of being at a conference tournament. Our guys know that, we had a great regular season. We won a record 12 in a row. We won a record 17 OVC games. We're going to finish the season no matter what happens in Evansville with the highest win percentage in school history. We had all kinds of individual awards that came out today with, Janai being freshman of the year, first team all conference, Davon all conference, and Skylar newcomer. So those are all great things that should be celebrated, but those are things that we needed to celebrate before we left I will say he's been a bit of a surprise, though, because, obviously Tyjon went down with an injury right before the season, and we needed Janai to really step up and grow up and mature quickly, and he did. He was ready to do it. That's just a testament to who he is, his character, his toughness, the family that he's from, how they've raised him, and just obviously his ability as a basketball player. But it's been a lot of fun to watch him. We knew that we had great length. We had great versatility this year. We had some rim protectors, and that we needed to be a great offensive rebounding team and a great defensive rebounding team. And so we really, if you looked at our practice plan, the majority of what we devote our time and attention and teaching to is on the defensive end. And, our guys deserve so much credit because there's a certain toughness level and maturity level that comes with buying in defensively. And then our guys are very cerebral. I mean, they have a great basketball IQs. They really bought into, our terminology and speaking our language and holding themselves and each other really accountable to a high standard, especially on the defensive end. And I think that's the reason we have great team defense. And we told the guys, hey, that's a great season, but it's over. It's done. Once you get to Evansville, you get to postseason. Everybody's 0-0, and everybody's fighting for their basketball lives. And so that's the thing that we've really just kept the guys on the edge with is, we're going to stay loose. We're going to have fun. We're going to celebrate this season when it's over. But it's a new season right now. Everybody's 0-0, and we got to bring it every single day.
Okay.
With All-Star Week approaching, who do you guys think have the potential to make a push for the MVP in the second half of the season?
Well, I think first and foremost, the East finally has competition now. With the Nets, I mean, Kevin Durant has been playing out of his mind for the first half of the season going into the All-Star break, and I think he has a legitimate shot at making a serious push to the MVP and possibly winning his second one of his career. Also, Luke has been having a down year for him, but he's still putting up great numbers as, now the point guard of the Mavs now, and he's done very well for himself, doing his thing for the Mavs. One thing that I'm kind of shocked at is, LeBron's still having a great season. He's still, being LeBron, but he's not gotten any noise whatsoever for, being in the MVP race. I mean, whenever you think about it, you think of guys like Steph Curry. He's having a great season. Guys like Damian Lillard, even going as far to say, maybe even, like I said, Kevin Durant earlier or James Harden, or even Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's having a great season coming off of his absence at the start of the season. So I think there's a lot to go into with the second half of the season, but it's really anybody's race at this point.
Matt, I agree with what you said. I think the biggest thing coming into it is there's a lot of competition this year. If you look at the Kia MVP rankings for this season so far, you've got the typical guys at the top five. You've got LeBron, you got Joel Embiid, you got Nikola Jokic, you got Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard. And if you go down a little bit more, you've got some other guys that you haven't seen before, like Donovan Mitchell and guys of that nature. Personally, I agree with what you said about Luka. He's having a little bit of a down year in terms of numbers, but he's really my pick for MVP at the moment. He's having a good season. He's on a mediocre team right now, but if you look back a couple seasons, you had Russell Westbrook, who was on a sub-50 win team, and he won back-to-back MVPs. Now, he did something that was legendary and broke the record twice, but I think Luka can bring it together in the second half of the season. He could take his team to a finals, which is something they haven't seen since 2011, and I really think he can get the job done. I would go with him for MVP because he's an outstanding player, and he's one of the youngest people to ever do it since LeBron, and I think he's an all-star. I think he's a future Hall of Famer.
I actually think a lot of people have been discouraging James Harden recently because he has been averaging some of his best numbers in terms of rebounds, assists, shooting in all forms, especially the effective field goal percentage. A lot of people discuss that stat as not being very important, but it really is. Although they put a lot of hate on his name, he is still that guy. And they like to say that he's not because he's paired with Kyrie, who's having an amazing year, and same with Kevin Durant, who's having an MVP year as well. But I think any of those guys can make the push. But not even mentioning those three, I think if Steph Curry wills his team to the playoffs the way the other team has been playing, I think it needs to be Steph Curry. I mean, he's putting up numbers that he hasn't put up since he won back-to-back MVPs, not to mention his unanimous MVP, the only one in history. I just think it has to be Steph Curry.
Yeah. Kind of to go back on to what you said about James Harden, he's still that guy, even being one of the second or third options on, just a star-studded Nets team. I feel like he definitely has the opportunity to make that push in the second half of the season, especially, going against the Clippers last week and, still putting up 35, with guys like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant still being on the forefront and, being those scoring options, for that team. So I definitely think it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out.
The Morehead State men's basketball team has found recent success this season. Here's more on their situation and their attempt at making a push to the OVC tournament.
This season has been nothing short of excellence for the Morehead State men's basketball team, as they have clinched the number 2 seed in the OVC tournament. A lot of the players on the team earned accolades, including Skylar Potter and Devon Cooper being named Newcomers of the Year, as well as Janai Broom being named to the All-OVC First Team. From being 8th in the preseason poll to now being the 2 seed in the OVC tournament after coming off a win against Belmont, they have defied all expectations with their play, especially on defense. This team has broken multiple records while under the program, such as winning the most games in a regular season while in the OVC at 17, with 12 of those wins coming consecutively. In his 4th season at Morehead State, Preston Spradlin became the 6th head coach to be named OVC Coach of the Year, being the first one since Donnie Tyndall in 2008. Most of the success was due to freshman center Janai Broom. Committed last year out of Plant City, Florida, he has become nothing short of phenomenal, with leading the team in scoring and rebounding with 13 and 8. Morehead State takes on SEMO in the opening round of the OVC tournament and look to make it to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2011. This has been Cody Hammonds with the Game Plan.
Last week, golf legend Tiger Woods sustained multiple injuries in a car crash. He's in stable condition but had to get surgery. How do you guys think his legacy looks at this point in his career?
Well, Matt, I think Tiger Woods is one of the greatest golfers of all time. Looking at what he did when I was growing up to what he continued to do as I was a young child, to dealing with all the bad press and bad publicity that he had to deal with, to coming back and showing the world that he still had what it took. I think it's utterly devastating that this happened to him. It was a shock to the whole community, not even just the golf community, but the sporting community as a whole. Tiger has respect from some of the best athletes in the world, and on top of that, he has respect from probably every one of us up here. So I think I speak for all of us when I say we wish him a speedy recovery, and that we hope we can see him back out on the green as soon as he can get out on the green.
First and foremost, I want to go with what Jacob said. It's awful that this happened. This is a terrible tragedy. I'm glad he's okay. I hope he can recover well and get back out on the green. But as far as his legacy goes, to me, he's number one. Seeing everything that he's done, when Jacob and I were growing up and stuff like that, to having a bad press, like Jacob said, bad rep, falling to the bottom of the bottom, people not respecting him, and then for him to have an amazing comeback story and be number one. I mean, there's guys that can stand with him like Jack Nicklaus, Sam Snead, Arnold Palmer, but those guys are all top 5, but they're not Tiger. He's got 15 major wins. He's got 82 PGA wins. I mean, this guy's the undisputed number one. He's like the Tom Brady of golf. I mean, it's just ridiculous how good he is. But, I mean, I hope he gets well soon, and I hope we get to see him on the green again, because talent like that's once in a lifetime.
I think Tiger brings so much to the game of golf just by his name. I mean, whenever you look at the stuff that he's done for, the golfing community, bringing that sort of gravitas, I guess is a good way to say it, it's completely ridiculous. Growing up, like you guys said, he was the guy on the golf course, and he made golf fun to watch just because of, how absolutely ridiculous his skills were. And so, he was down there for a little bit. He, didn't really have a good point in his career up until his Masters win last year, but he is definitely going to go down as one of the greatest golfers of all time. You said Jack Nicklaus is up there, Arnold Palmer, I completely agree, but you can't have that conversation and not mention Tiger Woods. So I definitely hope that he has a speedy recovery as well, and we wish to see him back on the green soon.
For today's episode, I decided to showcase my skills on the basketball court. Let's see how it went.
Howdy, this is Jacob Hedges from the Game Plan. After last week's tryout video, the basketball team didn't give me a uniform, so they gave me a ball, but it's pretty flat. So we're gonna do what we can and try out for the basketball squad. Going for the three here. We're outside of Fazoli's here and every other business that's over there, and we're gonna make this shot drain. We're gonna take a shot from this parking lot. It's gonna drain. We're gonna take a shot from Eagle Lake here. Watch it drain. We're at Walmart. We're gonna take a shot. So we made it. Watch it drain.
Thank you for joining us here on the Game Plan. I'm Matt Wilson alongside Jacob Hedges and Cody Hammonds. We'll see you next time.